Okay, what we have this afternoon is a 2007 Dodge Caravan. I believe it's a Grand Caravan because it's got the extra little bit on the back. What we're going to be doing with this is a water pump. Okay, she's got the 3.3 liter. I'm not sure if the 3.8 is the same. I believe it is, but don't take my word for it. Anyway, we're going to do the water pump, which I have right here. Brand new. And up here in Canada and parts of the States where they use salt, these lower rad hose bypass tube or transfer tube, whatever you want to call it, they usually rot out and leak. And this one's pretty bad, and I'll show you what I mean. So first things first, let's get this car jacked up, get the tire off it, and I'll show you where to go from there. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is make sure that this doesn't have any pressure in the system. Now I'm feeling the rad cap is a bit warm. Now if you open this when this is red hot, you could stand the chance of boiling over and this comes spraying out in your face and burning you. So since it's a bit warm, I can feel it, I'm going to grab the rad hose. I'm going to pinch it like that. Now you can see this, it feels like the antifreeze level is low. If it had pressure in the system, you wouldn't be able to squeeze it, flatten it out like that. So it's a good to always check, and then slowly remove your rad cap. Even when you turn it all the way over, leave pressure on it and then slowly release it. If I can get the turn all the way like that, and then slowly release it, wiggle, wiggle. No, see it's down a bit. Okay, next step. Okay, so once you have the wheel off, we're going to remove this plastic splash panel. Now there's 4 things holding it in. A push in here, and there should be one up here on some models and one back here. So a lot of times you can just grab a hold of it and give it a yank like that, okay, and all this will come undone. On this one there's only, oh, there's one at the front here too. You have to put that back in, and there's a 10 mil bolt over there. Normally you can just go like this with it, like that, and get it out of your way, save your old fasteners. Now the water pump on these is in the back. It's kind of a hard place to get at, and sometimes you let the motor down, it's a lot easier to pull the pump out. Actually you have to anyway. So this is a bypass or a transfer tube, I think they call it here, and you can see how rotted it is, and it's probably even leaking. Look, oh, get that in frame. Okay, so we're gonna replace that. Since I'm going in here anyway, I'm not charging the customer to replace the tube, and I gave them the same price I got on it. So we're going to go ahead and drain the antifreeze by the bottom rad hose right here, instead of touching the bottom of the drain cock on this thing, because a lot of times, I know it's a newer car, a lot of times you can get into difficulties. Like I'm not at work right now, so I don't want to take any chances. So a lot of times what happens is you'll pull the bottom drain cock and they bust sometimes, or pull the plastic apart, all kinds of nasty little things. So we're not going to go there. I'm going to take the bottom rad hose off. So that's the next step. Let's put a jack stand under here somewhere, hold this up, then we're going to come back here with a pail and we're going to take this off, we're going to let it drain through here, then we're going to knock this tube out of here first, and then we're going to start on that, take the pulley off, or loosen the bolts on the pulley first. Here's another problem I just noticed with this van. Check the battery cable out. Look at that. It's going to leave them stranded some days. Well, we're going to fix that too while we're here. Okay, so we're coming from the front side, just because it's easier. I have a special pair of pliers for this, but I left them at work. And we'll get rid of this clamp. We're not going to reuse it, because I don't like reusing them. They never seem to seal afterwards. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to pull this all the way off. I'm going to work around the rad hose here and try to break it free without puncturing the hose, because we don't want that. Now they make a special screwdriver for these. It's like a pick. What I want to do is go like this. Oh, keeping it free here, and kind of get the screwdriver beside it. Now if you have animals around, be careful about the antifreeze you spill, because some dogs are dumb and they'll actually drink that and die. So, or your cat. Anyway, drain it out. Next step. Once you have it broken free, if you're not sure, you can grab it and give it a twist like this. It should come right off. Try not to spill any. If you do spill some like me, make sure you throw dirt on it or something after. Clean it up, because if your animals get into it, you're gonna be a vet bill or they're gonna die. One of the two. Now with a 13 mil an extension, I'm not gonna use my air ratchet because you guys aren't gonna be able to hear me. We'll knock these out and try not to break them. I've never had to heat one yet. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I'll get this one out first and I'll show you how to knock this pipe out. Now if you have any corrosion on these bolts before you put them in, make sure you clean them up. That one's not bad, it probably won't bother. Okay, put that aside somewhere in a pile. Now take this bolt out and come right back at you here. Okay, all you got to do to remove it, it's only in a rubber seal, so we'll rotate this down, kind of work it back and forth. I don't know if you guys can see what's happening there. Just a minute. Readjust you. Just rock it back and forth. It'll come out. Okay, here she is. And you can see what kind of shape this tube is in. It wouldn't have been too long before this started leaking. You can see right there, it might have even been leaking down at the bottom. So it was you can see, now if I hit it with a hammer, you'll probably see that it may have been leaking. It's pretty bad. I've seen worse though. Now, before we'll get to that part in a minute. Okay, before you remove the belt, as in a lot of these videos you've seen, let's crack the bolts loose on the pulley. You may have to hold it, keep it from turning over. Loosen them up, and then we'll take the bolt out, the belt off it, like that. Now you could rotate it too if you want by putting a socket here and turning it. It makes it easier. Okay, get those all loosened off. Now, without a serpentine belt tool, you may be in trouble like me here. Anyway, some of these tensioners have a spot on the back. You can get a 19 mil wrench, but this one doesn't have it. All it has is the 1/2 inch square drive hole here, and I don't think I can get my ratchet in there. So what I'm going to do next probably is going to be drop the motor down so I can get at that. It's going to come down a few inches, which will let me get on that. So do that next. I'll show you how. Now check the condition of your oil pan before you try this, because if it's a little like rotten, in some cases worse than others, you might not want to try this. But anyway, make sure you use a piece of 2x4. 2x6 is best. And make sure what this is going to do is disperse some of the weight across the entire oil pan. It'll keep it from these little sharp things digging into your oil pan and putting holes in it. So just what you want to do is snug it up like that. Then we're going to go up top, take the 3 bolts out of the motor mount, let her down after that. Okay, you're going to have to remove the breather to get those 3 bolts down there. So just take your screwdriver and hopefully one-hand it here. Pop that one off, shoot one in the back, pop it off. Okay, remove this hose, just put it on the side there so you don't forget to put it back in. Loosen off this clamp. You can see someone didn't tighten it up the last time they were in there. That happens a lot. Okay, pull this off. Now, it's up to you if you want to disconnect that sensor or not. If you disconnect it, I'll show you which one I'm talking about. This is hard to do with one hand, guys. Pull the air cleaner up. Just kind of, you don't really need to undo it. The sensor, just flop it over. You might forget to plug it back in. You're going to get an engine code. Okay, now get your impact gun down here, or socket, whatever you got. 315 bolts, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can get my camera to fall off here, off the front of the car. Not much air pressure out here. I need a better compressor. Now, I'm showing you guys this way because I forgot my belt tensioner tool, but there's always 2, 3, 5 different ways to do the same thing. It's just a matter of finding one that works for you with what you have on hand. If you don't have any tools, then you have to work around it. Not give up. You gotta keep trying, man. There's always 3 or 4 different ways to do something. Okay, let's go underneath. Okay, I'm going to slowly let the motor down. You can see it's come down a little bit. I'm hoping that it comes down enough to get that belt tensioner at it and the pulley not hit the frame. Let's see how far she'll come down. Now I should be able to get the belt tool in, or my ratchet in there now. See, it's kind of by there. Not a whole lot, but if you're stuck and got no belt tool, then this is the way to do it. Okay, so my ratchet won't go up in there because it's too big. As you can see, the head of it won't fit in there. Now, I thought it was stuck, but I just come up with another plan to get around this. I'm going to use my 1/2 inch drive extension, put it in the hole, and pull down. That should take the belt off, just like so. Watch your fingers in these pulleys, guys. You do not want to get your finger pinched in there. Okay, let it back up slowly. Just like that. There, you've seen the third way to get that off. Okay, now with it down here, we don't want to take this belt off too much unless we have to, but I'm going to show you this little trick because this pulley's down farther now. You have to turn the belt sideways. If you didn't already know that. Kind of work it through there or you won't be able to pull it out. Okay, now take your 3 screws. You can see it's loose here now. Take your 3 screws out of there and continue. Now if you forgot to loosen your bolts off, you're going to have a harder time with this, but you may be able to hold it with a pair of water pump pliers and use something like this impact gun and long extension. Now I wouldn't put them back in with this because more than likely it's going to break them off, but if you were stuck and couldn't hold on to it and didn't break them off first, you might be able to hold on to it and give it a little burp with the impact gun. Like that, it should come out. Should, not always. Anyway, get the 3 out. Now, I've went before and pried the motor so I could pull this pulley out. You don't really need to do that. You can see the center's cut out of it. It fits around there like that. And see how that happens? Now, you can turn it to get at each of the 10mm bolts. There should be 5. If you're not sure if you missed one or not, you can go and look at your brand new one. Like you can go here, down here. You just keep moving around till you get all the bolts. You can pry it out of there. I've done it before. You just have to go like that and then put a bar in there and pry it out of your way. Now be very careful because this is white metal, or aluminum I should say, and sometimes these get corroded in there, but this is an 07. Well, I shouldn't say I don't expect it to be any of these break off. If you break one of these off, then we're going to be into another video on how to remove broken bolts out of aluminum. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The one in the back, you may have to go from behind and get a wrench. But if you turn this pulley like this, and you can pry the motor over sometimes. I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but whatever suits your fancy. You want to pull that pulley out that way, or pull the whole thing out together like that, because it will rotate out with the pulley on it. It's up to you. Now the last bolt's on the back side. You're going to have a hard time getting in here, depending on where you put your jack stands and everything. You can put your arm right through that hole right there, and you can see the housing there, and the bottom of the water pump. The bolt you want towards the top. I'm going to stick my arm. There's the converter, just so you know where I am. It's kind of hard with the camera here, guys. I'm going to stick my arm up over top of the frame and up here. This is I can't do that on camera or not. See my fingers? Now it's just a matter of pulling down. Yeah, pulling down. Make sure you go the right way. You don't want to snap it off. Okay. I wish you guys could. Oh yeah, you can kind of see that. I'm kind of not in a nice spot. I'll see if I can get the camera back. You can see where I am here. Anyway, guys, I'll get that bolt out and we'll pull the water pump out next. Okay, with that nasty bolt out of there, make sure you clean up all your bolts before you put them back in. And it doesn't hurt to put lubricant on them. Alright, what you want to do is turn this in frame here. Turn this pulley and put it in there like that. And you should be able to grab the whole thing. You might have to pry it out with a screwdriver. Be careful about the mating surfaces. You don't want to scar them too much. Now this should rotate. Rotate right out of there like that. So you're left with one of these things right here. Now, I'll show you where it was leaking, if I can get this off with one hand. Just a minute, guys, I gotta put this camera down. Alright. It's got weep holes in it. You can see right there, that one's been leaking. And the other one, it's got a rubber plug in it. It's been leaking big time too. So, now I'm going to tell you one thing to watch for with these new pumps you put on. Hang on. Now, I've had this happen a couple times. And you can see this one's got the plastic impellers on it. Where the pulley, when reinstalled on here like so, was not centered. And you could actually see this whole thing wobbling like this. And it caused a belt squeak that we could not get rid of. So, just a word of warning that when you're done, you should have a look up in there to see if this pulley is actually is straight or is it wobbling. Because if it's wobbling, you need to put another water pump on it. Just thought I'd mention that to you guys. Now, on the back side of this water pump, we'll get into cleaning the block in a second. There's this rubber seal. Now, I usually glue it in with 3M weather stripping adhesive. I use the yellow stuff is good. The black stuff, I think it's the same stuff, but anyway, you need to glue that rubber seal in there. Now, just go around. You don't need a whole gushing a lot. Glued on there. Anyway, if I can get some out of this old tube, it's like friggin' 10 years old. Anyway, glue that gasket in there. I'll let that dry for 5 or 10 minutes. While that's happening, we're going to go clean the mounting surfaces off on the housing. Okay, so this is the mounting surface of the water pump housing. If you're going to use one of those air-powered Scotch-Brite pads, this is a wore-out one. It's better use a wore-out one, it's not as aggressive. Be very careful you don't scratch and gouge it. Anyway, I'm going to use a razor blade and some emery paper, and I'm going to go in there and scrape all the debris off it and make it smooth again. You see it's got some corrosion around the outside. And then while you're in there, where the bypass tube, transfer tube sits, get in there too with the emery paper and get the crap out of there. Okay, so this is tacked up a bit for about 10 minutes. Now I advise you to put something on there just to let this whole thing slide around a little bit, because if you get one too tight and you're trying to move it, and anyway, it helps seal too. If you have a housing on the block that the water pump sits in, obviously, that is corroded and pitted, you're going to need something to seal it. Now you could use some easy slide, but I prefer silicone. These are like out of gasket kits. Get them all the time at work. We never use them. You end up in your toolbox and eventually go hard. Anyway, put a little bit around there. Now, if you put too much, you're going to get it all over the place. Okay, that's just a warning. Anyway, okay, one more thing worth mentioning before you try to stick this back in the hole. There's actually, clean this up. Sometimes you get belt particles stuck in here. Now's a good time to put on the wire wheel if you need to. And it's marked front. Obviously, that's going to go in there like that. Okay. Now you want to reassemble it like that before you try to stick her back up in there. Anyway, reinstall the same way you take it out. Now my battery's running low, guys. This HD stuff just kills it. Finger start all these bolts, not necessarily tighten them down, but make sure you have them all started in before you start torquing them down. Now there is a torque for this, but I couldn't tell you right offhand what it is, so I won't. I usually go by feel. Anyway, get them all started in there, and then we're gonna show you how to do the transfer tube there in a minute. Anyway, do this. Yeah. Anyway, make sure you start them by finger tight all first before you try to tighten them down, and then do a cross pattern so you don't break it. Okay. Okay. Now you've used emery cloth in this hole here where the transfer tube goes into. We'll put some silicone on the end to make it slip in easier. I don't know if I can do it with you guys in the way like this, but let's see. like that. You guys are kind of in the way where I got the camera. Anyway guys, just like that, push her back up in there. Here's another little tip. I never reuse these unless I have to. It seems if you don't put them right back on the same mark, it'll always leak. So just throw it away, get yourself a good stainless steel gear clamp in there, and then reinstall the lower rad hose. Sometimes you can put a little bit of lubricant in there. Well, you gotta be careful what you use because you don't want the rubber to swell up. Normally it'll go right in though. There you go guys. Don't forget to tighten your water pump pulley back up once you have the belt reinstalled. And always go over your belt. Make sure it's on all the pulleys, because if it's not, it'll chew it off real fast. Okay? And just, you know, put the motor mount back on. I'm not going to go through all that. My battery's almost dead. But anyway, reinstall it the way you took it out. Now the wheel's all reinstalled. To bleed the air to the system, you can take your top rad hose off with one of those goofy spring clamps. A lot of times these aren't going to come off because the rubber gets welded right to the steel. I don't recommend trying to yank the top heater hose off, because a lot of times you'll bust the heater core, but you could do it if you could get the hose to come off. You need to let the air out is what you're doing. When you fill this up, the thermostat's under here. Sometimes they have weep holes in the thermostat, but that takes a long time for the air to come through it. So what you're trying to do is make a hole for the air to escape. So if you can get this hose out of here, you can take a small screwdriver and push the thermostat in like that, and it'll bleed the air out. You won't have to sit there for half an hour, 20 minutes trying to warm this thing up and trying to get the airlock out of it and everything. If you could take the top heater hose off, that would be ideal, because it's the highest point in the car back there. But a lot of times I wouldn't even bother, just because, you know. Now there's a friggin', this is funny right here guys, look at this. See that corrosion right there? This final coat's put on there to stop corrosion and it's not working. Power test. There's no power to it because it corroded. That's kind of funny. The very thing it was trying to stop happening happened. Anyway guys, there you go. Okay, so this one has a good sized weep hole in the top of the thermostat, so we don't need to stick a screwdriver in there and push the thermostat open, because that's what I was going to do. So you probably don't even have to take the top rad hose off on this model anyway. Make sure your rad hose is up if you're going to do it, so it doesn't pour all over the ground. Okay guys? Remember, if you like this kind of stuff, please rate, comment, and subscribe, because when you rate and comment, it drives me up in the ratings, which gets me noticed more, which helps out a lot. Anyway, thanks guys. I hope you like this, and I hope it helps somebody out. Talk to you guys later. Bye.